the sound that's in the air. It's rock and roll. 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 It's rock and roll.
And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story, real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
And good morning. Welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. I'm Rich Rosso, certified financial planner, here with Matt Damon Doyle.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Doing well.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. So we've got the first. Well, before we get into that, let's talk about flat futures this morning. Sort of all over the place. Dow futures 35. Pretty sanguine this morning on the futures front. We'll see what today has to bring. Right? There's always some sort of exciting news that'll come out and throw us in one direction or another. So interesting when you look at Matt's, our financial planning software, and how we look at forward-looking returns. Reading a really great book on behavioral portfolios based on how people really forget some of the greatest debacles or crises that we've gone through in the economy. You know, the Great Depression and the Great Recession, and I know we stress test all of that. What you always have to be cognizant of, if we're correct with our financial planning software, that we will go into lower returning markets or stagnant markets over a period of years based on valuations. It's amazing to read about the springboard effect once that's over, like 3 or 4 years after you're in this low return environment, how you get anywhere from 40 to 80% return to market. So that coiled spring effect. And I always think about how we would have to adjust valuations higher or returns, forward-looking returns higher. So it's something we always need to monitor when it comes to helping people make good financial decisions.
Yeah, the emotional aspect of it is something that we try to take out of the equation, but it is difficult for folks, and especially when you get that upswing, you don't know when it necessarily is going to happen. But if you're sat around in cash waiting for it to come, chances are you're going to be late and miss a good piece of that upside.
You know, interesting, because I always have nightmares of the Great Recession and how the firm I was with told me that there was nothing wrong really and everything was fine. They would gaslight us constantly and give us an idea of, oh, no worry about it. This will pass. And, this is no bigger change than anything else. Don't worry about it. Tell people to just sit there and ride it all the way down and then ride it all the way up, especially now people who are going to be retired in the next 2 years. That doesn't sound too good. So we have to remember that we've got to stay grounded as advisors. I think we're risk counselors more and emotional counselors more than anything else. And we have to understand that, it's never really different this time. And what this book is helping me understand is never forget the outliers. We understand the outliers are rare, but I don't need many outliers to take me into financial devastation. And that's why I'm so glad we have the sell rules that we have in place and that we look at everything, to your point, and a rules-based environment. I think that keeps you grounded to change your mind because the data is saying you need to change, as opposed to don't worry about it, everything is fine, markets always rebound in the long term and blah, 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 that, I got at my former firm. And so glad that I don't have to, talk about that BS anymore. But I like to read this stuff, Matt, to stay grounded and know that as advisors, we have the same biases. We have the same emotional and cognitive biases as everybody else. And we have to remember to pull ourselves away from that so that we could take clients away from that. You know what I used to call it during the Great Recession? The poltergeist effect. Do you ever remember that when Carol Ann was inside the walls or whatever, and the dad had to put a rope around himself and he had to throw himself in? I don't know if you ever seen that, but they had to hold the rope because he's going to go in and get his daughter and they're going to pull him back.
Right.
I felt sometimes that I was out there on that rope and I had to pull clients in. I said, we're going to play this game. You ever see the movie Poltergeist? You're out there somewhere losing your mind and I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull you out. It's not going to be pretty for both of us, but I got to do it. I actually think we're doing a lot of that now because of where you see media headlines versus, say, the hard data that we're seeing in the economy. Listen, the Fed, I'm not a big Powell fan. I think Yellen was worse. We had someone that sat there and looked at all the fiscal stimulus that we had in the economy and decided that inflation was transitory. We're still dealing with higher inflation all these years later. And now he won't go and do anything and lower rates, even though inflation is closer to 2.3% on the PCE, even compared to last year, but he lowers rates last year. So to me, the Fed is all over the place. And I think that obviously the tariffs and worrying about inflation, I sort of get that. But they're notoriously late to the game. So I think we saw that with the Fed, that nothing is really going to happen. But all of these events and all the different things that we see, we've seen tariffs before. There's a study I'll talk about a little bit that I thought was pretty interesting on the effects of tariffs. Our job is to make sure that people are really taking it and staying grounded. When you see hard data as good as it's been, but soft data, off the charts terrible. Fear we haven't seen since the Great Recession. And what's the S&P down? Year to date? 4%, maybe?
Ish.
But the fear is as if the market's down closer to 50. So I think there's probably a political, this is soft data. So I'm sure that politics pollutes some of this data. But it's amazing to me to see in this cycle, when I talk to people, and I'm interested in your insight on this, how they feel like they can't look at their accounts and they're so scared and they're hearing that this is the worst market since the Great Depression. And then they look at their accounts and go, wait a minute, this is not as bad as I'm hearing. What kind of observations are you seeing, say, from clients? What are they saying overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's much of the same, right? There is that we will start a meeting and there's the concerns are aired. And when we pull up the actual information of how the accounts performed, whatever time frame we're going to look at, our portfolios have fared very well. And I have a report that I like to look at, and I think it's only germane when the client has a fair amount of history, historical data. But there's a report that I like to pull that compares risk and return. It's easy to compare, whatever my high water mark is and where I think I should be based on, some random up day. But we got to look at everything at a risk adjusted basis as well.
We do. We get back. We're going to be talking about, will tax reform stall? One thing we do know, this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, even if it gets through, is not going to look the same. We're going to hit that up in the next couple of segments. We'll be right back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
In 1999, a parafiduciary group of financial advisors were busted by corporate giants for trying to operate in their clients' best interest. These men promptly escaped from a high-cost margin environment to the Houston Energy Corridor. Today, still excoriated by their former employers, they survive as protectors of others' fortunes. If you have a problem about preserving capital, if no one else can help, and you can find them right here, maybe you should hire the RIA team.
The Real Investment Show.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors. 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
And we're back. So, we have the first American Pope.
Yeah. We finally gold medaled in conclave.
Gold medaled in conclave. I got to remember that. That's pretty funny.
And he's from Chicago. So he's going to
well,
say...
I know. You know how you know he was from Chicago?
Well, he's going to say, the prayers.
No, the Pope Mobile was up on cinder blocks this morning.
They're going to put a Buc-ee's in the Vatican.
Not if with Chicago there? I thought they'd have like deep dish.
Wawa's.
Deep dish conclave pizza or yeah, something. Yeah, they came out and they went, "Oh my God, the Pope Mobile's missing. The rims are gone." Yeah, Pope's from Chicago. Some of his friends came to visit.
I hope God has a sense of humor. There's a lightning bolt headed our way.
Oh, I've been struck a couple of times. I'm still here. You know, it is something to see. I've never been to Italy. I've never been to Rome. I absolutely want to go. I would like to hit up some of the more smaller peripheral areas, not just the circus of where tourists go. So, you know, I'm one of those people that still wishes for those stay 6 foot away from me signs. So I carry them with me and I throw them down when people get near me. And I'm like, oh no, we're still following this. We're full. Stay 6 feet apart. That's the way the world should work. 6 feet apart. Okay? There'd be a lot less trouble if everybody just stayed at least 6 feet apart. That's my overall thought.
The line for Splash Mountain would take forever.
How long would it take you to get to, oh my gosh. Yeah, it is a Three Dog Night song. We're 6 feet apart. Get away. Don't you look, go astray. Yeah, we'd have a whole thing. So, I don't think that was Three Dog Night, was it? Yeah, it might have been. My gosh, they played that song so many times when I was a kid. You know, that AM radio, the one thing, as much as I loved AM radio, and I'm sure you did too, Brent, they would play the hits. They sometimes would, to ad nauseum, repeat some of the songs. Like, where are you in your rotation, man? It's 4 o'clock. we're playing The Ink is Black, the paper's white, and then you're doing it again in 2 more minutes after. I mean, and then they would have instant replay, 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 replay. And then they played it again. And there's 4 times I've heard the same song.
How long did it take you to memorize the lyrics?
I don't know. They're still in my head, so obviously all the repeats worked. I may not remember my birthday, but there are certain song lyrics I will always remember, just like there are certain movie lines. Thank you, AM radio.
Yeah. Well, and they also had, when I was growing up, they also had every rock station had mandatory Metallica.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, how did you have to, Shambhala, great song. How did you, what do you mean, they have to just run it every hour? They
It was like, I can't remember. There was a block. Every rock station was like from whatever it was, noon to 1 or 1 to 2.
It was Metallica
It was
hour.
just Metallica hour.
Metal Monday.
Metal Monday. Tungsten Tuesday. Wood Wednesday.
Big Hire Thursday.
Tariff Thursday. I'm going to tariff those things.
Mm-hmm.
So the Fed felt that it was okay to not be in a hurry. We could be patient. Inflation's transitory. The anticipatory inflation is transitory. Anticipatory. So there's all kinds of mumbo jumbo that's out there that lets you, make you hate the Fed even more because my magic 8 ball has beat them. So we got Mother's Day coming up. Do you know, Mr. Damon, the National Retail Federation and Prosper Insights and Analytics, how much do we spend on our moms on Mother's Day? What do you think the spending is at?
Oh, I don't know. Can I just take the points?
$34.1 billion
Oh,
we
wow.
spend on mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
And Shaft, he gets the same treatment because he's a bad mother. So this is according to Mother's Day
Waka, waka, waka.
is an important holiday, only surpassed by the winter holidays. They show we appreciate mom before we go back to berating her again for not getting the socks white. Greeting cards, 73% of consumers, $1.1 billion on greeting cards. Jewelry, not as popular as flowers, $6.8 billion. Flowers are the most popular. $3.2 billion on flowers. Or 61% special outing. We tried to get reservations, of course. My girlfriend's family is, if it's Mother's Day on Sunday, they'll look to set up. They'll go ahead and look at reservations Saturday, because that's how they operate. Almost every place is booked. Even Trill Burgers can't even get in there. Can't get anywhere to treat mom, but mom deserves it. But that's just a lot of money. I haven't read into the history of Mother's Day. I'm sure some greeting card company created it. Gen Z is the most likely to give gifts. 50% plan to, because you're still living with your mother. So if you're still living in the basement, you better be nice.
She just wants a rent check.
Yeah, right. Well, she's not getting that. She's gonna get a dead flower and a card. Gen Z, 3.5 times more likely to purchase decorations that say, please, Mom, don't kick me out. So that's what we have. There's this comic that shows Mother's Day, and Mom's got all the gifts, and Father's Day, and the guy's just holding a balloon. That's what he got. He got a tie. I don't think they give out ties anymore, Brent. I don't think anybody. Have you seen really anybody wear a tie anymore except Scott Bessent?
Not since COVID.
Yeah.
The whole tie thing went right out the window. That whole tie industry.
As did all fashion sense.
Literally everything.
I mean, pajamas were the, haute couture.
Yeah. Now, isn't it amazing? And I will tell you, and this is just tells you the degradation of the culture, right? Like I'm on this whole kick of maybe because I'm becoming the don't get off my lawn or get off my lawn dude, like Lance. Lance is rubbing off on me. The entire culture has deteriorated when it comes to manners and everything else. But remember, you would get dressed up to go anywhere. Your parents would get dressed up to go anywhere. When you went on an airplane, I remember when I was a kid, first trip I ever went to was in California. I was like, oh my gosh. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. I'm getting all dressed up. But everybody dressed, even to go to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. And now
go ahead.
No, well, now you got the director of Health and Human Services walking to the plane bathroom barefoot.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, at least he's not wearing a dress.
Well,
you don't know.
You're not sure.
It's just amazing to see how styles have changed and how they fell apart. To your point, you know, the pandemic was a reset for a lot of things. Nothing good, but dress is absolutely one of them. When Goldman Sachs took the tie away, that was a big deal. When I was working, when my first job in the industry was a penny stock broker at JT Moran in Garden City, New York, I wore a pink shirt and got totally massacred in the bathroom like it was in high school. They literally ripped that shirt right off me because you only wear white shirts. Mm-hmm. And look where we've gone. Now you barely wear shirts.
Yeah, we got
And
Pink
those are the
Shirt
women.
Wednesday around here.
You
didn't know?
I heard about it. What is this pink shirt thing?
Pink Shirt Wednesday.
So we know I think Connie's wife lays out his wardrobe now.
It's Geronimo's for adults.
It's you know what they say though, the most genius of, like, what did Steve Jobs always wear?
Black turtleneck.
He always wore the same clothes. He says, I am not going to waste my time and my resources mentally on what to wear. I'm just going to wear the same thing every day. Now, it doesn't mean he wore the same thing every day. He wore the same, the same clothes, but the same style every day. You know, there is something to that. I don't think Steve Jobs ever wrote a book. They've written books about him, but I don't recall if Steve Jobs himself ever wrote a book. But I would love to read about his idiosyncrasies from him, like his philosophies of life, like what he thought. Like when you look at, say, for example, the CEO of Palantir, right? Palantir is now among the 10 most valuable U.S. tech companies, right? So you look at that, it joined this group. The stock was up 8% yesterday. The valuation is $281 billion. That's just lifting the company's valuation yesterday. That surpasses Salesforce, which is 10 times bigger in revenue. It trades for 520 times trailing earnings. The president is looking to spend $1 trillion on defense. And they're thinking Palantir is right there in that foray. Now, I will tell you, though, so there are a lot of these tech geniuses out there that are wearing funky clothes. And I don't even know how we got into this conversation. So we're going to get back into tax reform stall when we come back.
Stay tuned.
The
Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Are you a financial advisor sneaking peeks at our stuff? Instead of trying to do it all yourself, why not just join the team at RIA Advisors? Our full-service organization can provide you with the support, unparalleled research, and tools for managing your clients' money and honoring the fiduciary pledge of putting clients' best interest first. Don't take our word for it. Talk to the advisors that work with us. Want to come win with us? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors, big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
If you're working and looking to retire soon, a Medicare special enrollment period is in your future. Understanding Medicare choices, enrollment deadlines, and costs are essential to your overall standard of living in retirement. The wrong choices can cost you thousands in penalties. Make sense of Medicare's alphabet soup with RIA Advisors' online resources and one-on-one partners to help secure the healthcare insurance choice that is right for your lifestyle and budget and avoid gaps in coverage. Click on the insurance tab at realinvestmentadvice.com today. realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Talk about, well, why do you own gold? Well, I own gold because if everything collapses, it won't matter anyway. You're not going to survive more than 7 days. I don't care if you've got gold or not.
The Real Investment Show podcast.
You don't know how to go out and forage for food. You don't know how to go out and hunt. You've been sitting around your house watching television with your feet propped up, drinking beer for 12 years.
Same show, your schedule.
Danny Ratliff is one. He's going to survive just fine. He's in South Africa right now. He's out there with a knife and Rambo paint on and stalking predatory animals. He'll survive just fine. My next door neighbor with the drill, he ain't gonna make it. No chance.
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
If economic Armageddon happens, pack it up, buddy. You're done.
The Real Investment Show.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Now with the new and improved Before the Bell reports, plus each day's radio shows, Technically Speaking Tuesday, Financial Fitness Friday, and the latest analysis from Lance Roberts and Michael Leibowitz. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
And we're back. I'm with you, Donald. Absolutely right about Elvis and the way he dressed. Was amazing. And Mike, I have to tell you, there are a lot of cafes open right now. Feel free to go. I would get your coffee like your life. Bitter. So there are, before we get into this tax reform, I will tell you, it is not going to be what you think it's going to be. Matter of fact, I don't think the administration knows what it's going to be. And I'm going to share some insights from Greg Valliere. Greg Valliere is one of the best political pundits I know because he looks at things from both sides. And he just, whether he likes somebody or not, he's just going to share the data. And in this kind of world we have right now that is so extremely partisan, it's a welcome, beautiful voice, because he just sticks to observations. And one of my observations is I am not removing the sunsetting from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act until I see this big, beautiful bill go through. And even if it does, it is going to look a lot different.
Yeah.
there's some talk by Greg in a recent piece that he was interviewed that we're going to have to tackle Medicaid and how much money is being spent. I did not realize that there are, Matt, 72 million Americans covered by Medicaid. That's 1 in 5 people in the United States. Are we in that bad of a shape, or why would that be? I mean, that seems like a huge number to me.
It is a big number. I don't know. I think, the cost perspective of it is probably more have to do with insurance companies and the way billing's set up and
maybe
all of that sort of stuff. I kind of straddle the line in between left and right. But I think there's something to be said for negotiation. You want to buy, or this was a big deal a few years ago, obviously, you want to buy cheap drugs from Canada. Well, the drugs are cheap in Canada because the government's negotiating the price. And I say, well, that's socialism. Well, maybe, but we've seen this beginning, what I think is a tidal shift in sentiment. There's going to be a resurgence, in my opinion, of labor, and you're going to see some of these things aren't going to be put up with anymore. Luigi Mangione is a great example of that. I mean, in some circles, he's become a little bit of a folk hero.
Yeah, he certainly has. There's actually a play in New York about him. And the other day, I went into a store and I saw one of those candles with him as a saint. So it's a little bit too much for me. He murdered somebody.
Right.
So, but to your point, there is this. Listen, since the financial crisis, how wealthier have the wealthy become?
Right.
And a lot of it is because of the manipulation by the Fed and all the fiscal stimulus that came out into the system. So I absolutely agree. Matter of fact, when you look at this tax reform bill, they are talking about maybe a wealth tax. If your earnings are $2.5 million or more, your brackets would increase at the top. So it's going to be interesting, and then we have to prepare for this as advisors and best help you. But also the salt deduction. We're going to probably see a much larger goal, a much larger amount for salt. So Treasury Secretary Bessent set a July 4th goal to pass this multi-trillion-dollar tax cut package. But I don't know. I think it's going to have quite a bit of opposition from both sides. And when you hear cut Medicaid spending, I don't know if you need to cut the recipients, but certainly look at why are so many people on this? What's the underlying problem that we see?
Well, I think, at the same time, I think the discussion is shifting, I guess is what I was trying to get at a little bit earlier.
Uh-huh.
The discussion is shifting. Here's Bob that gets $600 a month in government support. And then here's a multinational corporation that gets all sorts of subsidies and everything else, and gets trillions of dollars in basically government welfare. And so people are saying, well, now it's time to shut up about Bob. Let's consider the bigger things. I mean, we have billionaires whose yachts need yachts, right? They were making fun when Trump 1.0 came out, right? And you had Betsy DeVos, who is self-interested with having her own private schools. And somebody went to Lake Michigan or wherever it was and untethered one of her 8 yachts. Ooh. And this was somehow an affront to her wealth. But in the meantime, regular blue-collar folks, Amazon drivers, are being told that they have to go to the bathroom in Gatorade bottles while Jeff Bezos is busy buying politicians. So I think the shift and the dynamic is happening. I got to admit, I've never really agreed much with Congressman in Texas, Chip Roy, but I saw him on the news last night talking about this very thing. He said, why would I go in and we want to have a balanced budget, which I think is a good idea. And why would we go in and worry about, these nickel and dimes here for folks that, have a medical condition or whatever it is. In the meantime,
Yep.
You've got massive subsidies going to big corporations and wealthy folk. And look, there's nothing wrong with the American dream, right? We all strive and we want to be successful, and we want to be able to advance. There is sort of, I think, a shift in American culture or American mentality right now to say, when is enough enough? When is it time for somebody to pay their fair share? And
Well,
we got down this track a long time ago. I think it started with the CEO of GE, right? When all these CEOs started getting paid by what's the stock price doing.
Right.
So their incentive wasn't necessarily what's EBITDA. And, for years, GE just had this, level growth. It was consistent. And then about 10 years ago, we found out that it was all a shell game. It was all just a math. It was an Enron. It was a Ponzi scheme that was just fell apart.
And Lance talks about this financial alchemy of buybacks, right? How do you where's all the productive spending? And Lance he just brought this up about Medicaid, which is true. When you look at the ACA, it added, and what we've seen with immigration, every disenfranchised group that they wanted to put them into Medicare or Medicaid. So there is fraud there that probably needs to be cut on. But to your point, I think people are becoming more sensitive to the fact that what does a CEO make versus a worker, and how that disparity has grown dramatically more over time. Mm-hmm. The issue to me, which is very interesting, is which party really stands for the American worker? And I think that jury is out right now.
Yeah,
because
sure.
It's so funny. When I was growing up, my grandparents were hardcore Democrats, but they would actually not be Democrats today, based on, they were union workers, they were janitors, but they were also fairly conservative, but they wanted people to make sure if they needed help, they could get it. I don't know which party represents that now. To me, it's changed. But the point is, when it comes to this tax reform, we have to be aware and update accordingly. And it is not going to look the same than it is now. And that's where I think the sunsetting of it, maybe in its present form, is accurate, but I don't know if we're going back to where we were. So this is up in the air, and we have to make sure that we're staying abreast of what kind of changes they're going to be. So Greg Valliere talks about that there will be a stimulative effect on the economy, obviously with maybe what we're seeing with the tax bill, but does it get through, and when does it get through? Yeah. I think there's going to be, it's not going to be as smooth as everybody thinks. And there's also that turmoil. The political risk you have is that turmoil bleeds into the market, just like it did with tariffs. So as Lance writes about is, listen, this selling may not be done. Yeah, you get an oversold bounce, but you may retest your lows. We have to be open to that. Our plans are built for that, and they are relatively dynamic, but we have to be aware from it from an investment portfolio perspective. That has, that could be fresh data every day. When we're building plans, and I'm looking out for trends in inflation and trends in forward-looking returns, I'm looking at 10-year cycle. But we're not investing money in a 10-year cycle.
Right.
So that's where I don't know. I think there's going to be some headline risk when it comes to this timetable going well into summer, and who knows how much longer than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back to your point about the planning. I mean, what else can you do except plan on what's known right now? I mean, every Congress that's ever come in since forever always changes the tax code. So your guess and this magic 8 ball here is just as good as anybody else in figuring out, what is it going to be. So we do the best we can. But I was having a conversation with a client yesterday, and he said, I've listened to the show, and it seems like everybody has a different opinion on what's the right answer, Roth or pre-tax money. And I said, in my opinion, I think it's good to have money all over the place, because when they change that tax code, it gives you more control of, what taxes you're paying at that time. So,
well, let's talk about that when we get back, because that's an interesting point. I'm Roth all the time, but that's not appropriate for every client. That's me feeling it's appropriate for me. But sometimes that's not the right way to look at things. And we'll talk about that when we get back. Stay tuned.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube page has all of our videos ready for your easy access. From 3 minutes on markets and money to each day's radio shows like Technically Speaking Tuesday, Financial Fitness Friday, and the latest analysis from Lance Roberts and Michael Leibowitz. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel for The Real Investment Show, or just click on the show links at realinvestmentadvice.com.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
The Real Investment Show.
Attention Chevron employees and anyone else receiving or considering a company severance package. We know the process can be intimidating. What should you know to maximize your payout? Lump sum or pension annuity, retirement plan rollover or not? What about tax timing your severance? The fiduciary advisors at RIA Advisors can help you make the best decisions for your situation. Call us today at 855-742-7526. That's 855-742-PLAN. Or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
I think Peter in the chat came up with an observant, pretty decent observation. Neither party is for the worker. In fact, labor has been less needed and has less influence ever. There's starting to be some frustration around that, but AI will definitely, we're already seeing it, change the dynamics quite a bit. And I don't believe we have the skilled labor force to meet it. But I know that hopefully, I think the private sector primarily will come up with solutions for that. I'm seeing how much in the private sector is going on with trade schools and such great articles about how some companies are going into high schools and how schools are working to build up their trade programs, and these kids are getting great educations in trade. And that sort of warmed my heart a little bit. There was these kids that said, oh my gosh, I cannot believe these companies want us, welders, electricians, HVAC, and that their needs. And Chip Roy actually, I think, brought this up about putting more money into community colleges to go ahead and build up the trade part of the equation. And I think that does, you're going to need trade. I don't know if any of you have lifted the hood of your car, but it doesn't look like it did in the 70s and the 80s. That's for sure. It's one big computer, don't you think, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got to have a skill set.
You do.
So absolutely. Hey, so we are going to have on Saturday, June 28th, our Candid Coffee. Now, this is good. It's with the mighty chart hunter, Lance Roberts, and the mighty hunter, Danny Ratliff, who just got out of prison, too, not too long ago, and wrote a book. Right? So He's all over the place. He's like one of those Renaissance men. One day he's in
Jack of all trades.
One day he's in the prison yard. Lifting weights. The next day he's killing water buffalo, and bringing the head home for his lovely wife. So we're gonna do a financial independence and how to kill a water buffalo, candid coffee on June 28th at 8 a.m. Declare your independence from mainstream financial media.
Special door prize will be water buffalo steak.
Oh, will it? I think that's pretty tough.
I don't know. I've never had it before.
I'm saying. Well, you get one of those long horns. You get a horn, so it'll be fun. Danny will be in his pith helmet. It'll be really something to see. What is Larry Smith talking about? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what Larry's talking about in the chat? If you want to join our chat and see what Larry's talking about, because whatever he's taking, you're going to want tomorrow morning.
He's coming down.
He says, I'm looking to selling a house while on Medicare. I'm not on Medicare, and I'm not selling a house. So, you know what? Why didn't Danny make me a nice sport coat out of water buffalo leather?
Water buffalo coat.
Yeah.
At least boots. Water buffalo boots.
Something.
Hat band.
I got nothing. So sign up. This is going to be webinar, stream live with Lance, with Danny. Send your question in. Go to realinvestmentadvice.com and register. We have had great results with our candid coffee. We have a lot of people sitting in with us. This will be great. Well, won't be that great. I won't be there. So we were talking about Roth.
The bar just got lowered. Don't shoot me with your gun, Danny. Your hunting rifle. There are times, and I think you got to look at the career cycle of an individual. To your point, Matt, when Roth versus pre-tax may work. And at the end of the game, when retirement comes, you have money in each of these buckets. Mm-hmm. It's when I think we've gotten so extreme to where Wall Street is talking about everything in pre-tax, and then people had zero tax diversification. Mm-hmm. So if I'm young, I'm just starting out. I'm not really making a lot of money. I'm building my career. Could be a great time and I've got a lot of time ahead of me to get tax-free, technically, growth over generations. Don't you think it would be great to start with Roth, and then maybe as I build into my career, I might go ahead and have some more money into pre-tax? What are your thoughts? Yeah, look, I mean, I think the logic around 401k pre-tax money, I think, and again, back to the conversation I had yesterday, you said, what's the firm's position? There's no real firm's position. Everything that we advise clients on is meant to be informational and give the client enough information to make a good choice in terms of what they do with their money. And we can do math in different ways and show different scenarios and outcomes to say, this is how this would impact you. But the logic behind a 401k or pre-tax account makes a lot of sense. When you're in your high income years and you're in a high tax bracket, put money away pre-tax, potentially lower your tax bracket right now while you're working, and push that tax burden out into the future when you're not making any money, when you're retired, and therefore your brackets are lower. I mean, the logic is sound and it makes sense. The Roth, at the same vein, also makes sense, right? To Rich's point, when you're ramping up in your career, maybe your earning is less than you would be, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Go ahead and pay that tax now, absorb that burden, and then you'll have that tax-free piece when you retire. The thing is that tax rates go up and down, right? And the way I look at income in retirement, there's really sort of a tripod of income. You're going to have whatever's fixed, right? That would be Social Security if you're lucky enough to have a pension. If you create your own pension through an annuity stream or something like that, those monies are fixed. You don't have any control over how how much tax you pay on it or how much comes in. The pension is going to pay you what the pension pays you, and you can't turn it up or down. Now, when tax rates go up, and if you have money on both the Roth and the pre-tax side, tax rates go up, you can pull more money out of your Roth bucket. Tax rates go down, you can pull more money out of your pre-tax bucket, and then in that way, some way control what your income taxes are in retirement. Now, of course, there's the caveat of having to deal with RMDs and being forced to take money out of that pre-tax bucket. But if you have a fair balance, because politicians vote, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And they're going to change the rates. They're going to change the deductions. They're going to take some away. They're going to add some back. If they're not voting, they're not doing their job. So it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't hurt to have money in all of these different categories. And let's not forget as well, you hopefully will also have an after-tax bucket, a taxable brokerage, a joint account or a savings account or something like that, which gives you, dividend interest income as well. So all of this stuff gets stacked on top of each other, and it's about mitigating those brackets so that you don't end up in a position where you have no choice, right? The more flexibility your plan has, the better off you're going to be in the long run. In my opinion, the better off you're going to be in the long run in terms of being able to have some semblance of control.
Boy, there's some terrible tax information going on in the chat. It's like H&R Block just took the H and hit himself in the head with it.
Hit himself in the block.
My goodness. Oh, my goodness. Larry, read the tax rules. Capital gains would be exempt probably for you, for your house sale, primary residence. Ooh, goodness gracious. We have this chat for another hour. We're going to be on for another hour, but I'm just going to be putting skulls up on the chat. My goodness.
Chat by meme.
It's like H&R Blockhead over there on the chat today. Do
people still know what Gumby is?
That's a really...
the bad guys were the blockheads,
solid
weren't
reference
they?
there,
Yeah.
Matt. You're showing your age with the blockheads.
Yeah. What was the horse's name?
Gumby.
No, Gumby was the green dude. What was the horse?
Pokey.
Pokey, that's right. Yeah.
And they had an annoying dog that was named Nope. Remember the dog?
I don't remember the dog.
The dog didn't bark. It just went, nope, 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 nope. And then they had Prickle. That's a whole other character.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of strange characters in the Gumby. But I think Gumby is really solid. He's a really good representative of our times. He's got no gender. We have no idea what he is. He's gender fluid, gender clay.
Yeah.
And everybody can love Gumby.
Yeah.
What is he?
Well, that's gone on forever. I mean, Bugs Bunny would dress up like a girl. And
He would. Remember when they pull his arms
Robin
apart
Williams
and he's
and
wearing
that-
the bra?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Bugs Bunny had a pretty nice,
He was cute.
Yeah, Mel Blanc really. Yeah, we couldn't play those commercials. We couldn't play those cartoons today, could we, Brent?
I don't know.
Some of those cartoons. PNLU says, nope, I'm wrong, Russo. Wrong about the tax exclusion and the ownership and use tests for housing residents because I have a certification in taxation and PU does. Okay. So we're going to have another hour of this torture for you today. So just so you know. So
The distinction is we get to be the first people on the internet wrong today.
About everything?
About everything.
I don't know how
I like to
anybody
stay
does,
up-
I don't know how Chris Salcedo does it. I don't know how my friend Chris Blaney does it. I don't know how you all on the radio are all day, every day. I would be in a cage somewhere. I don't know how you do it.
I mean, I think some folks just stay up late at night and argue with people on the internet who are wrong.
Nothing happens to your Medicare costs when you sell your house, Larry, because you probably don't have a $500,000 gain. You probably have a loss, and you can't take it. It's not deductible. Be right back.